So that's the outside covered. Now it's time to take a look inside the new 800 series Diamond and to uncover some of the great new technologies we've introduced. Now there's so much for us to cover that we're only going to focus on the highlights, but we're going to begin with cabinets. Now this is a new 804 D4, and as you can see, it's sporting that beautiful reverse wrap cabinet construction, which by itself makes the cabinet much stiffer and quieter than before. But we've gone further than that. On top of that, we have the aluminium top plate, which further braces up the system, improvements to the matrix, and most significantly, the addition of an aluminium plate on the inside face of the cabinet. What that does is provide a fantastic mechanical location point for all those drive units to bolt into and makes the cabinet even quieter than before. Now, what does that mean in practice? What we're going to do is look at a simulation. This simulation first, you can see, is an older generation 804 D3, and it's taken at around 700 Hertz. With simulations, what we do is use a combination of movement and color to show how energy or vibration is moving through a system. Essentially, the more movement and the warmer the colors, the more vibration there is in unwanted areas. And as you can see, there's a fair amount of that going on at the front of the cabinet, exactly where the drive units are. Move across to a new 804 D4, and as you can see, we've solved that problem beautifully. Instead of all that unwanted vibration, the cabinet is almost completely inert at the same frequency, and that translates into a much more believable listening experience with less sound of the loudspeaker cabinet itself. We can look at a similar comparison on 800 and 801. First, you can see an older generation 800 D3, this time at around 300 Hertz, and you can see again that vibration, that unwanted velocity moving through the cabinet. Compare that to a new 801 D4, and as you can see, again, massive improvements in quietness, and as a result, a more believable listening experience than ever. Now, how have we enabled that on 801 D4? Well, it has that reverse wrap cabinet, it has that aluminium plate, but in addition, it has a lot more metal elsewhere as well. Of course, the metal turbine head, the aluminium top plate we discussed, big improvements to the metal bracing on the matrix assembly, and the addition of a steel bottom plate too. The combination of all of these things make this loudspeaker cabinet the quietest we have ever produced. We've even added more metal to improve the performance of our two center channel loudspeakers, the HTM81 and HTM82 D4. Look inside the cabinets in both models and you'll find an aluminium enclosure that houses the mid-range drive unit. The result is a quieter, more optimized location for it to operate. Moving on to internal components, all stereo models now benefit from rear-mounted crossovers. This delivers a number of benefits. First, it isolates those sensitive crossover components from the unwanted air pressures that are moving around inside the cabinet, and that improves performance. At the same time, it also gives us more internal acoustic volume, and again, that's vital to help deliver better sound. And finally, we get the benefit of mounting the crossover parts to this metal extrusion at the back of the loudspeaker, meaning we can use the whole surface area as a heatsink. So that's cabinets and detail elements covered. Let's look at our three key drive unit technologies, all of which we're carrying on, but all three of which have been optimized with new features to try and maximize their performance. And in some cases, we've introduced revolutionary new technologies that really transform the way that they work. We're going to begin by looking in close detail at our aerofoil base cone. Here, we've introduced the foam anti-resonance plug. This lives at the heart of the voice coil at the center of the cone, and what it does is support that and prevent it from going out of shape as the loudspeaker drive unit goes lower in frequency. The result is more accurate, less distorted bass. So let's go to the other end of the loudspeaker and talk about high frequency. Here we've introduced multiple changes, beginning most obviously with a new elongated form for our solid body tweeter assembly. Now that longer form in itself improves the performance of the diamond dome by reducing the resonant frequency along the length of the tube. At the same time, we've also improved the decoupling system that joins the solid body assembly to the top of the turbine head or the top of the cabinet. That two-point decoupling system greatly improves the sense of openness and spaciousness, and it's applicable whether the product has a turbine head, as you can see here, or on the top of a loudspeaker such as the 805 and the 804. Finally, and in many ways the most exciting news of all, is the transformation we've delivered to our mid-range cone performance. We're carrying across our continuum cone technology. At the same time, we've done lots of work to improve both our decoupling and the motor systems in our chassis. But the key change is something entirely new and quite revolutionary in drive unit design, and that's this part right here. This is our brand new suspension system, and what it does is replace the role of a conventional fabric spider like this. This is a traditional fabric spider, the suspension that generations of loudspeakers have used. It supports and centers the voice coil and is a key part of the controlled movement of the cone as it operates. What we've discovered is that in the course of its normal movement, a spider generates a small amount of sound. Effectively, it's like a very small speaker cone operating behind the main speaker cone. Now, solving that problem required some unconventional thinking, and this is the result. As you can see, it's a very open structure. We call it the biomimetic suspension, or BMS, and what it does is play that same pivotal role within the loudspeaker drive unit as a conventional fabric spider. But, and here's the key bit, it does all of that without generating any of that unwanted noise. This is how much sound the new biomimetic suspension generates at the same frequency as the fabric spider you saw before, and this is how the two compare side by side. As you can see, it's an extraordinary difference in performance, and one that is clearly audible in the mid-range sound quality of the new range. Now, as I said, these are just some of the many hundreds of changes that we've introduced to the new 800 series Diamond range, and we'll be telling you more about the rest of them in the coming months. But in the meantime, I'm sure that's enough to get you excited. So there you have it. The full story of the latest generation of 800 series Diamond. For 40 years, we've worked to arrive at this point. Aesthetically and acoustically, this is the most advanced and capable range of loudspeakers we have ever produced. For all of us at Bowers & Wilkins, this really is everything that we know and everything that we are.